got an opportunity to look at your trailer. I think that's one of the best ways to introduce what we're going to be talking about today is to play the trailer for your film. And how about we do that now and take a look at it, and then we'll get into our conversation today.
When the pandemic hit, I was scared. We were all scared. What I wanted to do was figure out a way to use the technology that we had to make something simple and immediately connect the children. I went to our friends, these incredible composers, and I said, tell me what you're going through right now in your world, and can you put that to music?
I'm so moved. I've been watching the documentary, and I'm so moved by it. When you decided to put this down on film, this experience, this traumatic experience that we all went through, but you got a chance to do it. Give me the etymology of that.
It was a journey. So the original situation was we thought this would last a couple of days. You know, everybody was going to take the weekend off here in New York City. I had a big gala on a Monday. By Wednesday, we were told, go home, and we thought the weekend, be back on Monday. Next thing you know, weeks are going by, and the children are calling me, when are we going to have rehearsal? I'm calling all of my colleagues around the country. They're saying, we're going to close down. We don't know what to do. And there was no technology really that worked back then. We had Zoom. That was the one that we knew about. We had, some other ways, Google Meets and all these other things. But I said, is there a way for us to do this? So I brought the young people together because they were lonely. And even though everyone else I knew decided to not participate, we decided to participate. And during the year, we actually grew the number of children we reach out to. We reach about 2,000 children a year now, but during that time of COVID, we reached over 3,000 children online. And that's directly. What we ended up doing for this particular event was I needed music. So at first we went from singing to just talking. How do you feel? What's going on? As they were telling me what was going on, I noticed that they missed being together. So I started to ask my friends who are composers if they would write a piece for Zoom. I didn't really know what I was doing here. And Zoom had this strange latency that you would.
Exactly. I was wondering about that. How you thought that through.
Yeah. So I thought it through as much as I possibly could. So I'm looking for different ways. So I'm actually going online and I'm studying what are the different ways that people are doing recordings. I come through possibly 36 programs that I'm studying. So I decided to stay on the Zoom situation. And some composers tried, but we found out that no time did it actually work for us to sing at the exact same time and get the feeling of singing with someone else in the same room. That technology did not exist at that time. But what we did do is we came up with the idea of recording ourselves in our rooms. Hard sell for children, because we also noticed that being on camera all day long made children even more depressed because they were looking at themselves and everybody else was looking at them. And they're home sitting all day long. So something is happening to their bodies, they're changing, they're eating more, they're moving less. they're going through puberty, everything is starting to happen and they don't feel good about themselves. Cameras start to shut down. So at the beginning, a lot of people on video. By a couple of months later, maybe 4 children are on video. But they're all there. They're all coming. Their parents are saying, it's saving my child knowing that they can be on with you for 2 hours. And it became almost like a TV show. So here I am and all our conductors, and we're doing everything while there's silence and I have to get response. The composers, though, I found out, they wrote a piece of music that was very personal to them because they too, as adults, were going through the same thing. Nobody needed a composer during this time. They didn't know what to do. Who do I write for? Am I ever going to write again? So that's how it started, that bringing those two worlds together.
And where were you emotionally at that time? I mean, your commitment to the children. You could obviously be at any level that you wanted, age-wise, work-wise, but you chose children as a focus.
It's very important. Look, if you go to some other countries like Finland or Japan, in order to work with the youngest child, you must have the highest degree. I believe in that. I know that the reason I do what I do is a pure inspiration. Some mentor, some teacher out there, whether it be my mother, other family members, or of course people we meet, whether we go see a show, watch something on TV, someone inspires us. If you're inspired at the right moment in your life by the right person, you're unstoppable because that spark is now on. Our job is to continuously inspire our young people because we don't know where the next leader is coming from, or maybe our next doctor.
Exactly. And as I looked into their faces, I felt such hope. I believed there was a joy and a freedom and a clarity and an intelligence and a drive. It's all there. It made me believe. It re-energized me to know this is going to be all right. There are going to be some challenges. There are going to be some COVID-19, metaphorically, coming in our futures, but it's going to be okay.
Well, we've learned a lot, and these children look, I feel just now that there is a change in the children, that they're coming out of it a little bit better. But some children, that generation, that 4-year, 2020 to 2024, which is where we are right now, this 4-year generation is going to be different. And they're going to be different for the rest of their lives.
Ooh.
Because of what happened. If you were a senior in high school, you might not have graduated as a senior in college. Or if you were a senior in 8th grade, you didn't graduate as a senior in high school. Or maybe you did because you were not graduating in 2021, 2020. And maybe now in 2024, there were some colleges that closed down their graduations because of different things that happen in society yet again. All this imagery of society online all day long is making people go out and stop things. And the same generation that was stopped in 2020 is stopped again in 2024. So I believe that's going to have a real major impact as these young people grow. It can be positive, but it might not all be positive.
Yeah, and that's where you're going. So how did this experience, this COVID experience, change you? When you look inside and you look inside of yourself as an artist, as a music director, and what's your evolution here?
I didn't really think about it so much, how it changed me, because I'm always looking at how it changes others around me, whether it be the composers, the children, my team members, the conductors that I work with. But it's interesting because it did change me. I think it made me more aware of how fearful we all are of each other. I think it made me also look inside, what other capacities do I have? What else can I do if I'm locked in a box somewhere? Cocooning, getting ready to come out again. And that's what we were. Many of us were just in some shelter, in our own little worlds, connecting but not connecting. People loved it. And you know the funny thing? Introverted young people loved it. The extroverted ones are the
It's
ones
a
that had to
dream.
keep
Oh boy, it's a
dream.
we extroverts.
So for me,
Well, extrovert.
you're right. That's exactly it. Me too. I was an extrovert. So what do I do? So it changed me because it made me really rethink that, how do I belong, and will there be a tomorrow? That's a Craig Howell Johnson song. Will there ever be a tomorrow? And what I learned was we all have capacity for change as humans. We all have capacities for acceptance. And I decided to go deeper into my work. I went deeper into my art. I discovered new ways of creating art. And that's where this film came from. I didn't want to just create video. I wanted to create stories to help the children get through something. But on top of it all, I wanted to understand what was going on in their minds and get to understand that. And that's what this time round is. And the reason it's called round is because I asked composers to write a canon around. It's like, row, row, row your boat. You sing that over and over again. And I expected simple songs. The truth is I didn't get simple songs. I got masterpieces. And then I put that together with the children, because as I was talking to them online, I was asking, tell us what's going on. Exact same way you just asked me. How do you feel? And you know this because you talk to filmmakers all day long. You put a camera in front of someone, they talk. It's a phenomenon I found. But Zoom did that as well. They were easily speaking. And when I heard the stories, I could not believe what was going on. Children that were so afraid that their mom or their dad, first response, a policeman or fireman, every time they left their home, they gave their parents the biggest hug and cried because they didn't know they were going to ever come back. Because if you were caught with COVID, you were isolated, alone in a hospital. And then if you passed, you were never going to see this person again. And these children were that afraid. We forgot that. But that's what it was like in New York. So
New York was ground zero there.
New York was ground zero, and that weekend turned out to be a very long year.
Yeah.
And then it continued after that in some capacity as well.
Well, you as an artist, because take you 20 years ago, 40 years ago, you would have concentrated on the young people's chorus, but now you're expanding out. You're a filmmaker, you're a promoter, you're working with a wide variety of artistic expressions that you're having to expand.
Well, that's the other part. So not only that I went deeper into my music, but I also went deeper into all forms of art. And the one that I found was I was finding lost items as I walked around with a piece of wood or some metal. And then I found my old cameras. So as I worked with the young people, I started to do film. I knew nothing about filmmaking. I mean, a little bit, of course. I've always loved photography. So I delved into painting, acrylics, oils. I went into photography. I went into video making. And then I went into teaching the young people poetry. And then the poetry was filmed, and I helped edit the poetry. I created sculptures with wood and metal. I then took technology and I filmed the children reading the poems that were really heavy. And I created my first exhibit, my first art exhibit. And then I went deeper into filmmaking, and I worked with Anzi Sawyer, who's a photographer and filmmaker with me on this time round, and she's exceptional. She had a beautiful vision as well of creating these small films that were originally part of an art exhibit. These 15 films were art exhibit, and then we put them together with narration and storytelling. And that's what I learned during this whole time. And now it keeps growing. It doesn't go away. Beyond that, we also did other films. In fact, I won my first Emmy, which is right over here. We were nominated for an Emmy one year, then the next year we won an actual Emmy with another movie. And these were movies about the holidays that we put together. So, and now I'm going so deep into it that I'm creating another set of online podcasts called Out of the Vox, where I'm interviewing famous opera singers and musicians and chatting with them, and that's growing. So artists need to explore all the different senses. If one sense is stopped, like the oral sense was stopped during COVID, I could not produce what I needed to produce. So I looked at the visual one and I got stronger there. So that's what happened to me in COVID. I just opened up new horizons.
That sounds like so. So where are you going, Francisco? What are some of the things that are in your windshield? Some of the dreams and some of the opportunities that you're looking at.
Well, I'm continuing to compose. So I'm composing a lot. Today was a huge bomb cyclone that hit the California area, and I'm always looking at different phenomena that happen around the world with things that are affecting us that we have no control over. COVID-19. Yes. Right now, there are incidents around the world that we have to adapt around, and that's what I'm looking at. So I'm using my music to create that. I want to create multimedia. So film and sound will be interweaved in those. So I'm creating a cycle of songs that are based on phenomenon that are happening above us that we have no control of, except learning how to hide from them. And that's what I'm doing right now, whether it be a cyclone, a hurricane, or a space hurricane, etc. That's one. Filmmaking, I love the human brain and the way we think, the way we tick. So I'm interviewing 100 men right now and asking them why in today's world where our young boys, I've noticed that I've been giving a lot of support to our young women, our young people who identify as girls and are girls, and I've been talking to them, but then something happened for the last 10 years where our young boys are starting to feel left out. So I'm focusing my lens on them again, and I'm starting with an older group first. These are men ages 30 to 99. And I'm doing interviews with them. I have several this evening, in fact. About 20 to 30 minutes each. There's no agenda, but I'm filming the whole thing. And I'm asking them really personal questions about their lives and why would they dedicate themselves up to 50 years to the particular subject of singing. These are men that sing in community choirs. And some of them have been singing from one semester to 61 years, of which the average is between 25 and 50 years. Yes. Why would you do that? Every single Thursday night of your life. So I find that to be interesting. And what I like most about it is it only fraternity? Is it only tradition? Or is it the music? Or something else happening to their brain? And is there a way to follow them and find out why this happens? Because does the human need something to belong to for so long? And what is it that allows them to be attracted to something and to stick to it for so long? So I'm working on that. I think that might lead to some kind of documentary.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I want to talk identity for a minute. I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico. I came here as a small child and I was naturalized. I feel that the United States is too beige and that the Latino has an opportunity to truly to make to bring color and art and science and engineering and so much of what we have. So that's where I'm coming from. That, do you have any essence about that from your heritage?
Well, I'm Dominican, and so we're Caribbean, and I'm first generation American. I was born here, but I was raised in the Dominican Republic. And my mother came here in the 50s. My father came here actually in the 20s. He was from Haiti. And he was here during the Harlem Renaissance. It was pretty awesome for him. But it was a tough journey for
Yes.
and to think about what my parents did to make sure that I could be here with you right now in this video call talking is pretty impressive, right? You know, diversity is hard work. Diversity is not easy. And we believe in excellence in our society, in this American society. Excellence drives us. But what is excellence? Excellence to me is an energy that an individual who has self-worth puts into for a long time.
Yes.
So you have energy, yourself as an immigrant or someone, you have to be so strong to leave your country, your entire family, to get on some boat, some plane, walk, to get here. These are the strongest people getting here, right? And now we're here, they're here, hopefully in a way that is accepted to the society.
Yes.
I'm not going to get into the politics about that. That's a paperwork policy.
Yeah, we're talking about humans on the ground.
Humans on the ground, period, legally, etc. But you're now here. You have a very strong generation of people that come here. They're willing to put in energy. They're willing to put in time. And that time, if you do something a lot, you will get better at it. If you do a lot of nothing all day long, you'll be very good at doing nothing.
I heard that coming and I delighted in it. Well done.
So if you put a lot of energy in something, you're going to get very good at it. It might be incremental, might take a while, but you'll get there. So that to me equals excellence. Now, let's keep that on the side. Diversity. In order to have true diversity, we cannot look at ourselves only through the color of our skin. The world will continuously change. Color is just a pigment and it means nothing. What is more important to me is social economic means and opportunity. What kind of opportunity are we giving our young people? So now, YPC is about opportunity. If I can introduce you to someone else who inspires you, remember the word inspiration is back, you will now be able to do something you didn't know you could do before. So you might want to change schools. You might want to tell your parents, let's move out of this neighborhood. You might want to say, Mom, I want to take tutoring lessons. You didn't know that those opportunities were there. I want to learn a different language. And then if you start traveling with a group that you dedicate lots of time to, like our group, Young People's Course, you get to go to China, Japan, New Zealand, Paris, parts of Africa. Next thing you know, your world is opening. You bring that back to your family. You educate yourself. Your education now gives you money. Once you start to do that, you bring your entire family out of where they were. And that to me is what diversity does. But it's so much work to create diversity. And in order to have a group of people who are rich and poor to work together, the hardest group of people to bring in are the people with opportunity. So you have to tell them, why would I join this group? Because they're excellent. So now what comes first, excellence or diversity? They work hand in hand. And diversity brings excellence. But once you have excellence, you can have diversity.
Yeah.
And that constant growth and movement is what makes this country great.
I love that, because that's a circulation. That to me is what gets it. I have some concern about men, and we men and our self-images and what we have. It appears as if, because most of my inspiration comes from women. I've been both in spiritually and the work that I have, And I feel like that we men uh, are uh, are fearful right now that we're losing something that we need and that we need to be built up. I love that you're doing this with men. Are you learning anything about that? Are you learning about anything about how we can heal so that we can join and be part of, rather than be in a victimization and mode, or in a blaming mode?
I'm trying to learn exactly that. I'm trying to figure that out because I see it in my young boys, that they are lost. They are afraid. They will not speak to young people. They're not speaking to the girls. They're not speaking to each other, and they're alone. And they're here. They're on their phones. And who are they talking to? So whoever they're talking to will inspire them. So should it be the person we don't know in a Discord app somewhere? One of those apps where you go to these
Yeah,
gaming apps, and who's
exactly.
talking to them? Who's leading them? Should it be us? Should it be us in front of them, their loved ones, their families, their friends, their mentors, their teachers, their leaders in church or synagogue, wherever they go? We need to get involved and talk to them and ask them. I believe that they are completely unready for the future. I believe that many, not all, many is fine, but many are not ready for a future. And I see in the workforce, as I hire, that there is so much training that has to be done for our young people in general, with our men even more so, because they've been told so many things, and in many ways negative, that maybe their ancestors did, but they're saying, I didn't do this, but they're being now pointed to and blamed. And then on top of that, everything that they read about, everything they go, and they don't know where they belong. Like what role should they play? So
Yeah,
role playing is difficult right now. They go to movies and they're not the heroes anymore. They are the villains. So they just feel bad all day long. Is there a way for us to continue to grow the strength of women and how important they are in our society, but at the same time also grow the minds of our young men? And
exactly.
I'm starting with the older generation because I wanted to see what they're thinking. And then I'm going to go deeper into the young teens and see where they are. And maybe there's a way of mentoring that whole capacity. But once I know more, I already have some statistics. I'm not a scientist. I'm not saying I am, but I am doing case studies.
There
And
you
I'm going
go.
to see what I find out.
Uh, One thing I want to ask, Art, because let me jump back into the other, because I want to think about, because I love anthropology. I love the idea of how human beings and how music happened and how it grew and how much it is an essential part of the harmonics of our body. Because as you can look at a chiropractor, and a chiropractor will say, well, we want to get energy work, we want to get energy aligned, or you want to, and the energy workers, and it, when you, in the film, I they kept talking about harmonies and how this worked together. And can you talk a little bit about that, and a little bit about music as the essential nature, and singing as an essential nature of who we are as human beings, as you've experienced it, Francisco?
Music is the one thing that distinguishes us from every other species. It is when a singer sings, the entire brain is used, and that's when you look at CAT scans, it shows this. Um, when a pianist plays piano, the entire brain is used, left and right. Now, what part is music in? They say it's on one side over the other side, but once you do allow music into one side of the brain, it does take over the entire brain and the processes that it needs. And we're able to communicate with music emotionally, most importantly. And we as humans that need emotional IQ, in order to relate to other people, the stronger our emotional music making is, the stronger we are communicators with other people. Animals also have a knack for music. Every community anthropologically speaking, since the beginning of time that we've been able to research, has had music in its community. You cannot say that about every other part of everything we do, but music is, and it becomes the main communicator where you bring people together. There have been lots of studies on the idea of the brain and what happens to it, but more importantly, the idea of breath. When you do yoga, you talk about breathing, so it relaxes you. When you sing, when you do exercise, you have to breathe and you're able to go longer. When you're singing, you also need to control the breath. And what happens is when you're controlling your breath at the same time as everybody else in the room through singing specifically, all the heartbeats start to connect and go the same way. That feeling allows the brain to accept the other people better, and that brings community together. So singing does have a biological way of connecting us. You see it naturally. You go anywhere and you just start singing a song and the whole group starts singing it. It brings, even in movies, from funny ones like Elf, or you go to church, or you go wherever you go and you start singing it, even if you can't sing it in tune and you're not so good, you don't feel good about it, even if you're listening to it, it does something to you. Young people, when they're not feeling happy, they put on a sad song. Or when you want to, and it puts them in a mood that almost brings them out of the sadness that they were in. Or they say, someone believes in me the way they do. Or you want to exercise, you want to clean your house, you put on exercise music, you put clean your house music, So music has this. And whether you have autism, if you have Parkinson's, or if you have any kind of neurodiversity, music is able to affect you completely. And there's been so many studies that show even those who have dementia are completely gone. You play a song, that song, for whatever reason, they're able to sing it back. They spark something in their memory.